As a husband and a father of girls, I've been disturbed by what I hear about women and how they feel as members of our community at this point in history. Watching the women's protests about domestic violence around our country, I wondered what we men were doing to try and change the narrative out there. Now, I totally get that DV has myriad underlying causes and that it can and does impact anyone, men, children, the elderly, and that some sectors are disproportionately represented, such as the Indigenous and LGBTQI+ communities. But overwhelmingly, the impact is greatest for women, and overwhelmingly it's violence committed by men. So I came up with an idea for a first Real Men rally, and our Mayor, Peter Flannery, agreed with me. It has 3 key drivers. First, to further activate men as part of the solution. Second is education and support around behavioural change. And third, to change the narrative so that we have more of a solution orientation than a blame and shame game. Ultimately, we need to become better human beings. So this is the first Real Men rally, and it was powerful. It was hopeful too. And the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive from men and women of all ages. We just hope it adds to the energy for change across the nation.
A journey that started because a brave, incredible woman in the face of fear had the courage to say no more. A journey that brings me here today to say to men, it's time to take ownership for your actions. No more excuses, no more blame, no more abuse. Men, you can change if you really, really want to. Make a decision to change today. It's time to get the help you need. It's not too late. DV stops with me.
At the beginning of 2022, I was in a relationship filled with domestic and sexual violence. It all began with seemingly small, belittling comments about me as a person. Regularly told I was stupid, slow, and didn't understand the world around me. These small things led into bigger things, including multiple sexual assaults and violent, graphic death threats. The last time he threatened me was all because I didn't order the kind of pizza he wanted. He stood over me, told me that he could snap my neck and that no one would know, and that he would throw my body in the trash where I belonged.
And once I held myself accountable, I then had to look to my community. Now for me, I did that too late. I'd already given all the permission to do what he did. I can't change that. I wish I could, but I can't. So the only thing I can do now is talk to the rest of the community and say there's so much more we can all do to recognise the kinds of behaviours that we've come to normalise and think are okay, but actually contribute to the violence we see against women, where one woman is murdered every 4 days in Australia. See, the reality is that we stand here and say real men need to step up, but real men kill women. They're not monsters who lurk in the shadows. They're not aliens who dawn down and all of a sudden pop up one day and kill women. They're real men who live, work, and play amongst all of us.
Instead of asking the question why, which so many women hear when we're in these kind of relationships, why don't you just leave? We need to start asking the question how. How can I support my loved one to escape and recover from domestic abuse? You see, the why is shaming and blaming the victim, almost as if the victim had asked to be abused. We don't. 9 times out of 10, the victim feels trapped, alone, and isolated. The how is a community-based solution.
We believe that what underpins its most basic level domestic and family violence is the attitudes, behaviours, beliefs of those who perpetrate it. What every single man here today can do is influence a boy, a teenager, or another man.
For me, this is not just an Australian issue, this is a Moreton Bay issue. Last year, around 12 DVOs were applied for every single day in Moreton Bay alone. Cater saw 20,000 residents around domestic and family violence. Cater's high-risk team deals with 12 cases a week of imminent lethality every week in Moreton Bay. That's why I've signed the pledge.
I'm here today with my 13-year-old son, Chase. The reason that I've signed the pledge is that, in my view, part of the solution at least starts with men of my generation showing leadership and example to my son's generation, and hopefully from there on he will show that leadership and example to the next generation that follows him, and so on and so on.
I've signed the pledge because we actually have domestic and family violence in our own family and our own circle of friends.
I've signed the pledge predominantly to try and have a great future for our women in our community, but importantly to me, I've got two beautiful daughters, Ella and Brooklyn, who's here with me today, and I just hope they all have a wonderful future, and this is one of the great steps to move forward.
I want to thank all the men here, especially the young men that came to be part of this session, whether you're forced or not. I take this pledge for not only my beautiful young daughter, but for my beautiful wife, my sisters, my mother, and all the women that have shaped me into being this man I am today. And you know, one thing that we live by in our groups is everyone wants to be the man until it's time to be a man. So, you know, this pledge is not just something we take today, it's something we take every day. Every day we wake up, you take that pledge and you ask yourself, what will I do today to be a real man?
I do want to bring some hope because I am here before you today with that lived experience and being able to come out the other side. If men are going to take accountability and self-refer, we need to ensure those support services are there. As a mother and a grandmother, I have a role to play in teaching our next generation about respect and healthy relationships. And as a friend and a family member, I have a responsibility to call into conversations of disrespect and be an active bystander. What will you do when you leave today?